Hello, hello, hello. Long time no vlog. Um, yeah, welcome back. I know I haven't done a video for a long time. I'm really sorry about that. We've had a few setbacks on what we wanted to achieve. Um, we're still kind of aiming for the same thing. We still want to sort of split this, have this whole sort of blanket brand and have different videos and stuff. Hopefully that can still happen. I'm still urging people, friends of mine with different sort of knowledge on different areas and different niches, to try and encourage them to make videos, and they can, if they've got any sponsorship or whatever else, they can bring that with them. Um, yeah, so this is from, it came from inside the Longbox. That's a working title, because I don't know if that's actually being used by anybody else. Incidentally, on that note, the Atomic Comic things is not going to last. It's kind of done. It was done with with my comic book shop, and that closed. And to be honest, it takes away, because obviously we want to represent sort of films and TV and anime and a bunch of other stuff as well, whatever anybody wants to put on here. So it's not really descriptive of what's on there, not entirely descriptive anyway. So yeah, that out of the way. What I want to do with this one anyway, this show with this fan now dubbed, it came from inside the Longbox, or is we want to talk about ins, if you like, into comics. I get a lot of messages, not just on the site, but like from friends and stuff, and they've never really bothered with comic books before, but they've kind of got into it through film and through TV and stuff like that, and they've become interested and they want to know where to start. Um, with regards to Marvel and DC, that's a little harder. That's a little, a little easier said than done. Um, Especially with Marvel, because it does tend to, the Marvel universe tends to be quite sort of together. There's especially sort of the 80s and 90s stuff. One leads into another one, leads into another one, especially with the constant crossovers and stuff. Not a dig, I love Marvel, but yeah. So with that, I would probably say that there's some stuff in the 90s when they relaunched. They did a relaunch with a Spider-Man title in 1990. I think Todd McFarlane started that. I can't remember if it was any good or not, but it's a good in. You can sort of read that, and if you like that, you can go into other things and stuff. Same thing with 1990 X-Men. I was a huge fan of that series. It came out after a couple of years maybe of when I first started reading, and it carried on from Chris Claremont, and I was a huge fan of Chris Claremont. So yeah, so that's a good place to start for that. Batman, DC's a little easier, because DC have like these little offshoots, Elseworlds and stuff like that. I mean, Marvel kind of do as well, but DC's quite good at marketing those, and the Elseworlds and stuff like that are a good place for people to get a taste of of the books, and see if they're going to like it, and before they get to tackle all the continuity issues and stuff like that. The Elseworlds are a good place to sort of see if you just like reading comic books, which is what it really comes down to, and which is what this video is about. It's giving you a few ideas. But yeah, so why I like to start with that, especially with Batman, is year one. Now, why I think year one is such a good place to start for a lot of people is that although it's hyper real and it has obviously the fantasy aspects of all superheroes, it does have sort of a gritty realism to it that a lot of other Batman stories don't. Not all, but it is a little bit more sort of gritty based. And actually, thinking of that, it's a good point. There are some Daredevil stuff from the same sort of era, because it's Frank Miller. I should have thought about this before, because I'm a huge Daredevil fan. But yeah, Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, it does go a little bit west, which is a cool thing, because it's really good, with the ninja assassins. But there are elements of it that are really sort of street level gritty, you know. So it's an easy, you know, especially if you like watch TV show like the box sets, some of the stuff that people are getting into now. It's an easy transition into those, from those rather. So that's a good one. One of the best. There's different certain genres transfer into comic books better than others. One of the comic books, obviously, sci-fi is a no-brainer. You know, everyone sort of expects that. We'll start off with that actually. This is Aliens. This is book 1, which was originally published by Dark Horse. I think this one's the Titan version, which is a British imprint. But I think it was first published, if I remember rightly, 88, 90 maybe. But it's like originally it was like black. Or this one's the original sort of black and white. But it is absolutely outstanding. It is that good. I think I remember reading it like in 91, 92, and it was. So if I remember rightly, 83 came out in 93. I might be wrong about that. But I seem to remember being really disappointed because it wasn't. A lot of us thought that it was going to be more closely resemble this, and it didn't. Because Mark Verheiden, who is absolutely epic. A lot of people know him from a lot of his TV and film work. He's just been doing. Did he do Ash versus the Evil Dead? He's a great writer anyway. And the Alien stuff. What's great about the Aliens and Predator? I love loads of Predator, the singles and the files, and to the trade paper. I've got a few trade paperbacks as well with Predator. What's great about the Dark Horse stuff is there's just this, you know, a couple of decades worth of short, limited runs, which is better because you know, you don't get these long going runs where people just lose interest, and you know, there's sort of simmer points, and you know, I mean, this is like 4 to 6 usually issues what Dark Horse does, especially now, and they'll bang something out that's, you know, blistering sort of, you know, wall to wall action, and then they'll leave it for a couple of years, and then there'll be something else, and they just follow that same recipe. And for the majority of it, they're hits. I mean, me personally, I always believe, anyone knows me knows that how I feel about comic books is, you know, I don't think, you know, there's a lot of militant nerds that sort of complain about this, that, and the other. It makes no odds, you know. The first and most important thing is the box to be ticked for a comic book is it entertaining? If it's entertaining you, then it's doing its job. Anything beyond that is a bonus. But one thing that Dark Horse certainly is with its Aliens, Predator, there's a lot of a bunch of others. They did like a good Terminator one as well. But Terminator's there's a few publishers that have like bounced around. So Terminator's, RoboCop's been to a few different publishers and stuff. But Aliens has only ever been with Dark Horse. But yeah, they're a good place to start because if you're a fan of the movie franchise, and the same goes for a lot of their sort of movie licensed comic books like Terminator, like RoboCop, if you're a fan, then you're probably going to like them because it's in the same vein, and a lot of them are better by quite some margin than the sequels in the movie that we actually get, because there's no risk, or there's very little risk within comic books, so they will give you what you want, whereas, you know, they always try and play it safe with movies. So yeah, Dark Horse, Aliens, Predator, anything Dark Horse movie license is going to, you know, is going to be close to being a winner, right? Delve a little deeper. We've got by some of the more obscure. This is Avatar. You may never, if you're not familiar with comic books, comic book fans will know Avatar, Boom Studios, Dynamite. There's loads of other like little obscure. I say obscure. That's not fair. That sounds disrespectful. But smaller publishers that get out, especially horror, really good stuff, man. And Avatar's Nightmare on Elm Street is really good. This is the Fear book, which I think was either an initiative by them with their horror titles, or you know, crossover or something, but I can't remember. I read it a long time ago, but it's been out for a bit now. But it's really good stuff. Super violent. Not for the squibs. You can tell that's the gore cover. They always have a gore cover. But they've had all kinds of different licensing. That's one. We have Army of Darkness by Dynamite. Army of Darkness is a funny one because it has different titles, all about the same property, about the same, but sold in different names because of it being owned sort of partially by this company, partially by that company. Which anybody knows with the TV series, there was an issue with Ash versus the Evil Dead. There was an issue like up until series 2 that they couldn't reference anything from Army of Darkness because it was distributed by. But anyway, similar thing. You got Army of Darkness. You got Ash versus, and then you've got my personal favourite, which was a later one. It wasn't that I remember them. I remember buying this the first one when it came out. Kidderminster Toys and Comics. Kidderminster, now located in Bewdley in Shropshire. I got this from them. They sort of pointed me in the right direction. Another thing, go into your local comic book shop. If you're not sure, ask them. I know like a lot of comic book people can be a little bit sort of off-putting because they, you know, everyone thinks of comic book guy from The Simpsons. But generally speaking, most of the guys around here are nice, friendly people, and they'll point you in the right direction. I made it a point in my comic book shop, you know, that I would always sort of give you a smile and a good morning or good afternoon. Do you know what I mean? Because we're trying to sort of get rid of that nasty, stereotype. Because there are militant nerds out there, and but you know that's not the way you sort of, you know. I was proud of the fact that I was a print pusher. You know, I love talking comics. I love, you know, recommending comics. That's why I'm doing this. You know, so yeah. Anyway, I digress massively. But this, from a cool little comic book shop in Bewdley, Evil Dead 2. I ended up getting the whole series, and it went on to run on some other stuff. And when I actually got my own comic book shop, we got some of the alternate covers, and that is one of my favourites. I managed to keep hold of of the alternates anyway. I usually didn't keep the alternates because, you know, it's not exactly sort of you know, good for business. But I did keep this one sort of. Homage to Friday the 13th. I thought this was fantastic. Again, this is by a company called Space Goat. Yeah, exactly, Space Goat Publishing. But this is probably my favourite of the Evil Dead iterations. It's really solid, really good, really funny. So yeah, really enjoyed that. A real classy piece of work that I got into afterwards. This again. To sort of like what this video is for, from inside the Longbox, is kind of like a recommendation. We go in and we recommend books. I say we because hopefully, you know, we're talking to get other people involved and stuff. And again, sorry about the quality of the camera. I haven't been able to find my bits and bobs for the other camera to plug in, so it's just to the bog standard laptop camera at the moment. But I wanted to make a start. I wanted to get it going on, so apologies again. But yeah, this was recommended. This is American Vampire. Sorry. But I love American Vampire. It was something that I got into. I didn't read it when it came out. I was aware of Scott Snyder as it was coming out, because this is kind of like how he blew up. And Scott Snyder, if you don't know who Scott Snyder is, he's huge at the moment. Kind of simmering a little bit, but like up until a couple of years ago, he was like super hot. Proper, yeah. DC was sort of like putting a lot on him. They put the revamp, the New 52. Look up New 52 if you don't know what that is. It was an initiative that DC renumbered and reissued, like a soft reboot, not completely dismissing everything that happened before, but you know, It was a bit controversial. Some people loved it, some people liked it. I was a reader from before, but I actually liked it. There was a lot of titles that came out of that was. I've always been a massive fan of a title called Swamp Thing, and I loved the stuff that they did from the 70s and 80s, and it had gone a little stale. What there was of it, there wasn't much coming out, but what there was really stale. And Scott Snyder was one of the people. A lot of people talk about his Batman one from New 52. For me, his Swamp Thing one was the best thing about the New 52, which was fantastic. That coupled with Animal Man, which was like this really obscure little character that I think only like Grant Morrison, who's another big writer, had done a decent run on before. No one really gave a crap about it, and they did this sort of crossover, the red, the green, and the rot, about sort of elements of light. It's just really cool. If you get the opportunity, that's another thing that you should read. Is New 52. Look it up, and it'll I'll try and put a description underneath. And again, I'm not trying to to speak down to people who are already comic book fans. Just trying, this video is kind of like this episode of this show in particular is more aimed at people who are starting to get into comic books. So yeah, but anyway, sorry, I digress hugely there. American Vampire is something that when it was out and it was hot, and then I was kind of like really done with them. I'm a big horror fan, and vampires was something that was completely rinsed out. It was the arse end of Twilight and everything else, and it was kind of done, and I kind of avoided it for that reason, which was a bit silly thinking about it now. But another local shop, Shropshire. Yeah, Infinity and Beyond. Paul from Infinity Beyond. It's almost exclusively mail order now, but it's still a fantastic store, and I recommend it to anyone. Paul's like, no, seriously, man, it's really good. You gotta read it. So I did, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's a real classy piece of work. But what I didn't know was, and I probably would have given it more of a chance if I'd known this, but I think I can't remember, it's the first 6 I've had. Issues of it have a little backstory that was written by Stephen King, which is just brilliant. But it goes through sort of the history of vampirism in America, and it was a mistake that was not supposed. It's just really good. I'm not gonna go too much into of the stories of the arcs behind these books, and just sort of giving people an idea of what to go for. There's some online sites, Read Comics Online, etc., where you can read these for free, kind of like before you collect or whatever. That's how I see it anyway. Kind of like a library. I probably have bought more because I've read stuff online that way than I would have done normally. But anyway. So I did give them a read, and I'm glad I did, because now I absolutely love American Vampire. It's fantastic, but it's an easy transition because it's kind of like this. It's a real classy sort of period horror, and it's really, really good, really gritty, fantastic. For those people who are a lover of the more obscure, this has a real sort of place in my heart. I love this book. This is the first book, Devil in War. Devil in War is great because he's a character that they sort of sat together in 2000 AD and came up with a character that was kind of, on the surface, was a stereotypical, so he looked like a stereotypical hero, but then underneath the veneer was everything that sort of like that wasn't. So he's this he's a Vatican-trained, ordained exorcist who happens to be a gay vampire who looks like Terry Thomas but a bodybuilder. He can be cowardly at times and stuff. It's really obscure, but it's really cool. It's a lot of fun, and that's what makes this book so great. I recommend you look for the trade paperbacks if you are interested, because 2000 AD can be quite difficult to collect because of the way, because of its format. So I was just looking for a bit of cool art to show, but it's Sean Phillips sort of painted art. It's absolutely gorgeous looking. But yeah, it's really good, horrific, violent. But at one point, I know that, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but at one point Devil in War was the only 2000 AD character that was voted in a reader poll as character of the year other than Judge Dredd. I say that may have changed now, but at one point that was the case. So yeah, there's a few ideas there. As I say, there is an absolute multitude of film license stuff as well, which is like I said, an easy transition. So you know, so yeah, like I said, for people who are into horror and stuff, I really recommend looking at Avatar. Maybe you start off with titles that you're familiar with through movie, but there's just so much good stuff. Again, I'm trying to think of a superhero. Superheroes is an odd. If you want to read, because if you want to get into comic books for superhero books, it's a little harder. It's not impossible. Perhaps we'll touch on it a little bit more. There's a few stories. If you're a fan of more adult orientated stuff, Punisher Max is an easy transition. Max imprint is an adult, strictly adult imprint of Marvel, where some of their grittier characters had an alternative book, which was solely for adults, violent content, and not child friendly. And the Punishers was really successful. It was written by Garth Ennis, who's known for one of my favourite books. Probably my second, third favourite run on one of my favourite books, Hellblazer. It's all about Jamie Delano. Sorry if anyone disagrees, but the first writer on that was amazing. Anyway, but yeah, he did Preacher as well, which is now a TV show, which is amazing. But he's not, strictly speaking, a superhero writer, and he's not usually a fan. However, his style of writing seemed to really, really click with the Punisher, and he knows it. He's very aware of just how spot on that was. It's my favourite run of the Punisher. Of any Punisher run, I think Garth Ennis's Max run is fantastic. There's also one called Punisher Born. Kind of hard to get hold of in the monthly single issues. There's 4 issues. You can get the trade paperback from Amazon or wherever, or read it on read comics online. It's a solid book. It really is like a strange little tale, quite horrific, and it's quite brilliant. So yeah, there's that. Just trying to look to see what else there is. Sci-fi. For superheroes also, Watchmen. Of course, Watchmen. It's an interesting take. It's kind of got more of a grown-up take on superheroes, which is why it makes sense that it was a movie. Of course they were gonna, Alan Moore wasn't overly happy about it, but of course it was going to be a movie, because it's a no-brainer when it comes to adaptations. It's it looks at the absurdity of these masked individuals. So and the danger that present within vigilantism and everything else. So it's a fantastic book, and there's loads of other. It's really, really good. It is as good as everyone makes out. One of Time Magazine's 100 best English language novels since 1923. That says it all. It's the only graphic novel on that list. So yeah, Watchmen's an easy sell and an easy transition if you're first getting into comic books. There is some, like I said, really more obscure stuff as well. Sci-fi, there's a lot, and there's way too much to put on a little video, so I'm just sort of skimming. One of my favourites is just sort of on the shelf is the Luna Brothers Girls by Image Comics. This, I really like this. It's really different. Luna Brothers generally do sort of little obscurities and stuff. I really like this. I thought it was great. Again, I'm not going to give anything away because I'm going to encourage you all to read it, but it is very different, very good, very cool. Also, there's one called God Country as well. I forget what's the guy's name. He's like how Scott Snyder was, the guy I was talking about earlier on. He's hot property at the moment, but he's kind of sort of, you know, he's more. I think he's moving on to some Marvel property now. I forget the guy's name, but he's. God Country's really interesting concepts about, you know, I can't go into it, but it's a cool fantasy book. It's really good. It's like I said, it's kind of, it's a lot different. What I want to put across is stuff that's not straightforward superhero books, because sometimes with continuities that go back to, you know, well, Marvel's case the 60s, DC's case the 30s, it's difficult to know where to jump in. It really is. And yeah, perhaps I should have said this at the beginning. And that's why, like, we want to do little videos like this to sort of recommend, and, you know, in a nice way, because sometimes you, like I said, the majority of comic book shop owners are nice and friendly, but there are those. There's a reason why there's a stereotype. You know, Simpsons family comic book guy, because there are people like that, unfortunately. I've had it myself. You know, as a kid, you walk into a comic book shop and you would ask a question and they'd look at you like you just peeled one off on the carpet. You know, they just don't want to talk to you. They don't, you know, they're there to just sort of, I don't know, indulge in their own nerdism, which isn't why they should be there, to be honest. I really enjoyed being a print pusher. I really enjoyed, you know, talking up why this person should buy this comic book, why this comic book's great, and especially for younger readers. I loved it when people brought in their kids. So I read something. I read this when I was little, and now I'm looking for my kid to get into something. What do you recommend? Oh, you know, you get me going for hours. So. But yeah, this is just a small section. As I say, we can revisit this, and please feel free. You know, if you want to chime in, if you want to like put some stuff in for other people, you want to recommend some other stuff to put in for first-time readers, please feel free to leave comments. For people who want to just leave abusive comments, fill your boots. It's only going to, you know, it's only going to get removed, but you know, I don't really, so whatever. But you know, if people want to leave actual proper comments, then feel free. There's, like I said, there's not enough time on the video to get it all in one video, so there's going to be lots of follow-ups to this. Not every long box it came from inside the long box is going to be just this. Is not, you know, we are going to explore other arcs in other, you know, within others. So it was not just going to be for first-time readers or people transitioning from watching the movies to going into comics. It is, you know, there is going to be stuff that, you know, and we're just going to talk about recommending comic books, why we recommend it, why we like it. This is just a sort of skimmed video to begin with, to get us back on track. So yeah, again, feel free to leave stuff in the comments. We might come back onto this and look more into superheroes and stuff like that later. But it was just easier to sort of go through sci-fi and horror and stuff first. Just realised that I forgot. Yeah, as well. Might as well quickly run through Star Wars before I go. Star Wars. There was like 15 years worth of Star Wars stuff on Dark Horse, which is no longer canon, but is still just as cool to read. It's great stuff, and you know, some of the Marvel stuff now is pretty good too. You know, it's had mixed reviews. I think it's been unfairly criticised, to be honest. From what I've read, it's all been pretty good. So yeah, there's that, and then there's who's got, I forget who's got Star Trek at the moment. It's IDW Publishing. Put that in the link below, in the description below. But yeah, there's also like a load of Star Trek comics as well, which are really good stuff. You know, that used to sell amazing by Storm. So it's good stuff. But yeah, so we'll leave it till next time. We might pick up again on this, and we'll go into different stuff, because there's publishers that I haven't even touched as well, such as Valiant, and you know, which have got some really cool stuff going on. Okay, so until next time, goodbye.